What up, guys? Welcome back to Lockdown Universe, home of the bizarre, peculiar, and unheard of stories of UFO legend and paranormal lore. Welcome back, welcome back. Happy to be back. Hopefully, you guys are doing awesome and taking care of yourselves. Man, I love some Posty with a little Morgan Wallen in there. Man, some good shit, man. Gotta tell you. Alright, so, hell, it ain't like I can do this kind of damage by myself. Yeah, I don't even get the words right. I don't even care. It's just about the mood, man. You know what I'm saying? It's about the mood. So, I'm sure you guys are tired of drones, right? Probably tired of drones. You're like, man, I'm done with these drones. I don't want to talk about it anymore. That's fine. Let's skip them today. I'll probably do another podcast about them anyway, but let's talk about an alien event that happened where an alien escaped from an alien prison. And our boy, none other than Richard Doty, former Office of Special Investigations for the Air Force, tells us about this story on Gaia. And I just saw it yesterday, and I wanted to do a podcast on it yesterday, but I just didn't have enough time. So I'm going to do it today. And he calls these entities Quataloids, Quataloid, and they are really freaking scary, dude. They look like freaking predators. He says they're about 6 feet tall. He says they captured one of these things. I don't. He doesn't give. Well, he gives some dates, right? He says they captured some aliens back in '47. They captured some aliens in Kingman, Arizona, in '53. But I think he's saying that this thing that escaped in the '80s, in the 1980s, they captured in 1950s, and so they built a facility to capture this Quataloid to encase it, to imprison it. Because they needed special living conditions. They didn't know what kind of special supernatural powers that this predator looking like Quataloid had. So they had to make an escape proof prison, better than a regular prison. So they used like certain metallurgies and different alloys to create this prison with other electromagnetic capabilities. So he said they built the best facility that they could, and it took him a number of years to build it, he says. He says this thing was one of the best containment facilities on the planet, if not the best. He said there was a number of them, and they were at S2. And I know S2 is out in Nevada somewhere, but I'm not exactly sure. I guess I could pull it up if I was going to do my due diligence. So let's see, where is S2? S2 base. Let's see. Is this going to get me put on a registry or something like that? Let's see what they say. They're telling me about sulfur. I don't know. Let's see. S2 military base, let's say, right? Located. Because it is important. I think it's connected to Area 51. There's the Dugway Proving Ground, which is in Utah. I don't know if any of you guys know where S2 is. I've heard about S2 for like 15, 20 years, and I can't even locate it, even with the help of Google. But anyway, he said that's where this prison was, and he said that some of the prison cells that they created there had lesser gravity than Earth to allow for the aliens to live in in a space that was similar to their base at home. He said they also had some oxygen suppressors that allowed these aliens to breathe correctly. The oxygen level was too rich for them. So there's that. He said they required some certain nourishment and food that they had to like ship in. And the materials that they used for those were like, kind of space age. They used, printers. They used like printers that could print food. They also incorporated some individuals that had P3 capabilities, like Michael Herrera stated. P3 capabilities are, the folks that have the psionic capabilities to kind of see what these aliens might do in case they were going to try to escape. So they tried to figure it out before they would try to escape, or kind of like look into their minds and find out. But they did have one of these aliens escape. And the alien did hurt a human. It actually killed a human. They said they didn't even know how they killed it. They don't know how the Quataloid killed the human because it basically was like eviscerated, evaporated almost. It was just like a pile of meat just laying there when the security forces came in trying to find this Quataloid that escaped. So the story goes like this. Let's get to the meat and potatoes. So he states that this thing escaped through like a ventilation system, even though it was 6 feet tall, and it looked like the Predator, like in the movies, basically called a Quataloid. The Quataloid also could produce its own food through its hips. So its hips, like on the sides of it, could create its own food. It could sustain itself for a long time on its own food, which is interesting, right? I mean, that's a very evolved type of entity. But anywho, so this thing starts escaping. They don't have a lot of security on this base. I don't know how they don't, but maybe this base is huge, or maybe this prison is huge. They only had like 2 guys that were anywhere near this thing. And when it escaped, it came out through this vent system, and then it had to escape not only through a larger vent system, but it had to squeeze into, and this is like what I think they screwed up on. They theorized that it escaped through another system that was even more narrow than a ventilation system. A ventilation system is not big, guys. I mean, unless you're talking about an industrial ventilation system, then it would be bigger. But still, they've theorized that it escaped through an even smaller system after it got through the vents, went into another system and got out. But this thing's 6 foot tall. It was skinny, but it was 6 foot tall. So this thing escapes and it eviscerates this guard. And there's an OSI officer that has never seen an alien before and a security guard for this base. And that's it. That's the only security they have. So they have like an Air Force Office of Security dude there that Doty knows, Richard Doty knows, and I guess his name is Gene. He's willing to even like tell us his name, which is interesting. So they get on the radio and they call command, and they're like, "Dude, this guy got eviscerated. We need somebody to help us out here, obviously." And the Office of Special Investigations guy called his own team as well to come up and try to find this guy. Well, they've got tracks, so they're finding his tracks and they're following him, and he makes it down to like the alien makes it down to an irrigation kind of river area, and they're following the tracks, and the Office of Special Investigations guy is basically a newbie. Okay, he's never seen an alien before. They're telling him that they're on the tracks of it, but you got to imagine this thing does not have human tracks. Okay, I got a picture of this thing on Gaia. I mean, it's their rights and everything, so I'm not going to use it. But this thing looks like the Predator. It's got claws. It's 6 feet tall. It's skinny, but its upper body looks a little bit more muscular, and its head has this like has kind of like it comes to like a almost it almost looks like a UFO is on the top of its head. It's got like points on it on the each side, and it has a cape that comes down over the back of it. The cape is actually part of the being itself. The cape provides security and structure to the back of it and can protect itself. So he sees this thing, the OSI guy does, and he's going to shoot it. So he confronts it. He has 7 shots in his weapon. He starts yelling at the thing, and he doesn't know any language or any alien language, so he's just yelling at the thing to freeze, stop, don't move. He's never been briefed on the subject of the species, never been read into any of the programs. He's kind of just, I don't know how he ended up there, but anyway, so he's stopping this thing. He's yelling at it. The entity stands up, and when they're in danger, when these Quataloids are in danger, what they do is to scare their predator. Their head enlarges. It opens up, and then the cape also enlarges, and it makes it look like a praying mantis. It becomes really huge, and kind of like how we puff up our chest and we're like, we're gonna fight. They puff up their head, and it opens up to the sides, like almost like a cape would open up, or kind of like, it's hard to explain, kind of like, those air glider type things that people glide around in the air with. It's kind of like a big parachute, but it's a glider, and they just coast in the air. It's kind of like that. It kind of opens up like that, and that's what it looks like here. And so this guy shoots it. He shoots it. He hits it in the chest, and he thought he killed the thing. The thing just kind of like laid down. He shoots it with a 38, and the police are called, security called, and they come and they pick up the alien, and the alien survives. Whether it has regeneration capability or whether it has some other kind of capability, but this thing survives, and and they bring it back to the prison, and they're talking it over. The big, now they've got a whole group of security forces, and they're talking it over. They're saying, well, what should we do with this thing? Can we contain this thing? Should we try to fix it up? Should we? So they anesthetize it. They kind of get it prepped for surgery, and they're like, okay, well, what should we do with this? Should we try to fix it? So they start fixing the thing, okay? And the higher ups in the military are saying, okay, well, what are we going to do with this thing now? If we fix it and we bring it back to life, and it makes it through, is it not going to be violent against us? Is it not going to use some other kind of weaponry that we don't know about yet? Is it going to be able to contact its species and have them send their legion of forces down upon us? So they uniformly make a decision to kill this thing. So they kill this thing, and they neutralize it. That's what they say. They neutralize it. Well, what do they have to do to neutralize it? Basically, they can just put enough anesthesia in it to where the thing doesn't have a heartbeat anymore, right? Assuming this thing has a heartbeat. So and Doty even talked it over with his superiors. They're saying, he's telling them, hey, why don't we just send him home? Send him home on the spaceship. Just fix him up and send him, put him back in his spaceship and let him go. And the superior said, if we did that, knowing that we shot this thing and we brought it back to life and sent it home and had it imprisoned, don't you think they'd be a little pissed? We don't know what they're going to do. We don't know if they're going to send back a legion of ships back at us, or if it's going to use some primary weapon on its ship before it even leaves Earth and start blowing us away. We have no clue. So they killed it. Now, in the autopsy, they find out that the entire time they had it in prison, they didn't know this, but this thing had claws for hands, right? And the claws, when they're doing the autopsy, they come to find out that it actually has acid within the fingers of the claws, so that it could have used this acid theoretically to shoot out at a predator like us coming after it and neutralize its enemy. So that's really interesting too. The whole time it was there, it didn't use those, but you have to wonder if that's what it used to take out the human that was in its way, right? This thing is, and just to kind of give you an explanation too, this thing is terrifying looking. This looks nothing like humans. And I know not every species is going to look like humans, but the drawings that they have of this thing, the artwork that they have of this thing is freaking creepy. Now I get it. Like a lot of times these media companies will make stuff look creepy so that you are like, oh my gosh, and you watch it more and you're more into it. But this thing, I think they probably tried to do it as close as they could, according to, Doty's story. And, this thing doesn't look anything like a human. Obviously, the predator in the movies didn't look like this. It didn't look exactly as beefy and like, muscular as the movie. It had a thinner body, but its head is pretty identical, pretty close. Not exact, but within about a 80%, 75% range, just to give you an idea for what this thing looked for. He said, Doty hasn't been in the service for quite a while now, so he doesn't know if they still have any of these things or not. At the time, there were different quote unquote quataloids that they had, and that they also had knowledge of. However, do they still have any of these things anymore? We don't know. What's interesting to think about is now that we do have this drone situation, are there some alien beings that we have over in New Jersey that these drones are looking for and they're trying to find out a little bit more information on? The theory is no, but it is an interesting theory. I mean, if we had this base and it is over in the Southwest, well, it would have nothing to do with New Jersey. But these beings are really different. They're really different. These Quataloid beings. I'm just gonna pause this for a second here. Pause, sucker. They have the kind of like almond shaped eyes that the Greys have, but their body is stronger, taller, and it has this cape that's attached to it that's biological, and then it also has this like very wide head, like wider than its shoulders, but narrow. Okay, so if you think about like two plates on top of each other, right? Just, one plate on top facing down, one plate facing up. And you put those two together, kind of thinking of a UFO. That's what the head looks like. It's very narrow towards the sides, and apparently it has acid in its fingers. This is not something I would want to get abducted by. I wouldn't want to get abducted by anything, but man, this thing is terrifying. And the fact that it's evolved to the point where it can feed itself, these things could live for a long, long time. You got to imagine. I mean, he's not giving details on their physiology, length of lifespan or anything like that. But if it can feed itself, it's got to live a long time, and it should be able to fight. Given the fact that it's got claws and shit like that. What did this thing evolve from? Because you think of like all the things that we evolve from, all the stories that we've heard of different alien species living from, or evolving from. From squids to dogs to bears to humans to other humanoid type species, greys, reptilians. All we can always kind of like peel it back to some evolutionary basis. But on this case, man, I don't know what this thing evolved from. Man, it looks like it could evolve from like a vampire bat or some crazy shit like that. And not obviously not every animal that we have on the planet is going to evolve into something, somewhere else. But I'm just trying to give you guys another idea for what this thing kind of looks like. Yeah. So there's that. What would you do if this thing came to come say hi? Would you be able to whip out your shotgun in time to kiss it goodnight, or would you not be able to, and would this thing just take you? It's interesting because this thing was able to be shot by a guy that had no knowledge of aliens, and taken down. It surprises me that this species didn't have the intellectual superiority to take its telepathy and just kind of take down a human, scream at him, say, don't do it, but he didn't. He did become aggressive, and his head kind of opened up and started fighting towards him, aggressing towards him. But it surprises me that the telepathy wasn't strong enough for him to take down this Office of Special Investigations guy. Did they have something on the base that was blocking his capability of doing that? Does the species not have that capability, or did he simply not want to injure the person at all and ended up sacrificing himself? I don't know. Every species has its own capabilities, but it seems like most species have the telepathic capability, and it would be able to take down a human. Why didn't this thing fight back for itself? I don't know. Very interesting story, though. Very interesting story. And if there is, an alien prison on the planet, that's crazy too. Like, just to think about the fact that on the planet, you could drive somewhere and you would be within close proximity to an alien prison. And inside that prison, there is aliens. It's wild to think about even just human prisons, like the fact that they exist. And, if you have never been to one, which I haven't been, but, they exist, they're real somewhere, in your state, they exist. And it's unfortunate, but they exist. And the fact that actual aliens are in prison by our government is crazy too. And I understand they have to do what they have to do and they know more about it than we do, but at the same time, it's like, man, you're going to imprison a species that you have no idea of their capabilities and their ability to communicate back to their home world and their ability to get picked up and us just get blasted, you know? But if their ship crashed and they keep them in the base for a while and nobody comes to get them, you know, they keep them, they take care of them, they try to communicate with them, and that's what they do. So, anyway, I hope you enjoyed this story. I'm going to bring you another one coming up here in just a second. So take care of your guys' selves, physically, spiritually, emotionally. Try to get as much sun as you can in these winter months and follow through on your hobbies and your goals and your dreams, whatever they might be. Let that white light surround you. Stay positive, stay humble. Envision yourself being healthy. And whatever that is, allow your body to become that. Allow your personality to become that. And take care of everybody you need to take care of. All right, guys. Peace out. Lockdown Universe out. Go like, follow, share, subscribe. Thanks. Bye.